Sorry about that.
Yeah,
I think we figured it out.
I think we've got it figured out. Yeah. So I'll definitely apologize to anybody. We'll do another apology there because it was touch and go there for a minute. We had some
Right?
weird sound shenanigans, and I apologize to anyone whose ears exploded.
Seriously.
Yeah, as soon as we figured out that was bad, we went off as fast as possible. But here we are, and so we've had some questions last time before we pulled it back down. There's a reason it's episode 2 and not episode 12 because this isn't technically a From Dwendleman podcast format. We're just talking about how things got started. And specifically, we're talking about how we got started on the idea of making the RPG.
Yeah. Do you know where we left off last time?
I have forgotten because I watched it and then I lost all of the things that I had ready to go
I know,
because we
we've
were
done so
struggling with the
much since
technical
then.
shenanigans. And oh man,
So, okay, so let's just talk about where we're headed.
yeah,
We talked about board game 2 and 3, I think.
we did mention that we have those out there, and you also dropped the heads up about the book that's coming up.
So,
Yep.
I want to touch on that.
You want to
Can
touch
I
on that?
can I do that real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, so um what we're planning on doing, so the first time the board game was played, for those of you who already heard this, I apologize for, but I'll be quick about it. So the first time we played the board game, I followed who killed who and who attacked who and all that kind of stuff. And so we're using that as the main story of the fall. And so we'll write a book. It'll be a 3-part series that'll be like the beginning of the war, the middle of the war, the end of the war. And it'll be from all 9 perspectives as we go through the war, right? But we decided we didn't want to try to introduce the different characters and the races in that story. And so you have somebody that you're rooting for, somebody you already know. And so, like, I'm a fan of the orcs, so we want like, I'm reading a story and I'm like, I want the orcs to win. Or, my wife is the elves and so she'll be like, I want the elves to win or whatever. But it's hard to get connected to that when you don't know the backstory of who the elves are, who the humans are, whatever the case is. And so what we're doing is there's a story that we're doing before then, and it'll be like 500 years prior, and it will be a massive event that the whole world is engaged in, but we'll get to see how each race handles their side of the event. So it's not a war, and it's not something that the races are necessarily like all together doing. It's something that's happening to all of them. And so there will be pieces of how they interact with each other, but a lot of it is how they independently handle the situation. And so our first books, there's going to be 9 of them. It will be their perspective of the events that happen. That way you can really get to know the culture of the people before we jump into the war, and then you have somebody to root for.
Yeah.
So
We're having a
that's
lot
the
of fun with
book.
it. Oh man! And right now it's from the orcs where we're at right now. The orcs and the Muscapert is where the book is at, and it's very, 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 very rough draft format. Oh man! But yeah, I'm excited to move on from there because we have a really cool idea for each of the different races to help showcase that what it's like here, and it's kind of a fun interaction on how the keepers of the peace helped to try to cultivate the 9 races into a more function, like take them from the step of toddler into like adulthood almost.
Yeah. So,
Oh, but
but
yeah,
yeah.
it's
So
gonna be good.
then we have the role playing game.
Oh man.
So,
And I know the role playing game we started working on because we were stalled out with the board game. We were going through different problems, different complications, trying to get artists, trying to find things to make happen. Eventually, we were able to move forward with it, but it took us a while. And rather than just sitting idle, because neither one of us do that well, we started like, what if we make a D&D game, but for us?
but our story.
Oh man, and we just started going at it. I mean, we started with the most random bare bones shenanigans one day on a phone call where we were like, I have an idea. Let's go. And we just hashed back and forth, and it was nuts. Because, yeah, the RPG was also built while we were in different states.
Yeah.
You were you still in Washington at that? No.
No, I was in. I was here in
You were in
Colorado
Colorado, but I
before
was in
we
Utah.
started that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I remember the very first time we even play tested it. It was myself and Corbin, who's usually with us, and then we were doing taekwondo at the time, and so we had some friends, and it was a dad and his son and Corbin were the same age, and so the four of us got together to try this game out, and it was like
We're
this has
missing quite a
some
bit.
potential, but it needs a ton of work. Um, so we started, just diving into it. Um, there's a lot to it. We have over 400 different talents. And one of the key things that we are doing, one of the few things that are different that we're doing with our game is it's nonlinear progression towards developing your character. So in a lot of role playing games, you have
Your progression chart.
the progression chart,
Yep.
right? And so I want to be, um, let's say I want to be a mage, right? I want to be a spellcaster. And so I have like, at level 1, I can do these spellcaster things. At level 2, I get these things. And level 3, I get these things. I can make them stronger. And then some of the role playing games have introduced like cross classing, right?
Yeah.
Where you like can do
Cross-classing
another
is
one.
a pain in the butt.
Right.
Oh man.
So we decided to make that non-linear, which I think is our theme. It feels like it's just non-linear. So you can choose, like, I can be a fire mage. I can go in, I can do like fireball. And then I'm like, ooh, I want to ignite people on fire. And I'm like, oh, I want to do more fire stuff. And then it's like, but what if I also want to like shoot arrows? I can do that.
Yeah.
I can go be a ranger as well, and I can do both of them. And so there's some things that work better with others, but you can essentially, and I've said this as we're trialing it, whatever you want to be, however you want your player to be as you develop it, I bet I can solve it
Yep.
in Savarion. So
Like we had the idea once. I was talking about it downstairs. We were doing some play testing this morning. One of my favorite multi-healer play styles is I call them the Brimstone Healer, where it's just fire and healing magic combined into one action, and you're just like, oh, excuse me while I rain fire and chain heal all my allies. It takes a minute to get there, but it's absolutely doable.
yes,
Oh, and it feels good when you finally, like, we talk about Mikhail, Micah, one of the players. I'm gonna throw his name out there. Super awesome guy. He was our cross-classing champion. He definitely helped showcase a lot of the complications that we ran into with that, because one, he'd have a goal in mind, and for like the first 10 sessions, homie is useless. Just doesn't do anything of any caliber whatsoever.
Right.
Then all of a sudden that final puzzle piece slips into place, and then he's outclassing everybody else.
yes.
It was insane.
Because the other thing that we've introduced is called hybrid talenting. And so, like he was saying, you can there's a skill, it's Rain of Fire, and so basically anybody that you want in this area takes fire damage. Mm-hmm. And then there's an equal, like it's the healing version of it, so anybody in this area gets healed. And so you could hybrid those abilities and create a new ability that it does it all at once in one talent.
Yep.
So
I believe combining those two puts you at your top tier.
I think that is a tier 6 to do that.
That is a top tier.
But you can do it.
So yeah, it's been a rough road though. I mean, like, we have had some really goofy goof ups. We had a mechanic that we had to remove entirely because we called it the old SNS. Our players abused the heck out of it, and we had to make it go away because we could not figure out a way to make that mechanic playable. So stun, no longer a thing. You know who you are. If you ever see this, you know what you did, and we appreciate it.
Teleporting guys 50 feet in the air and dropping them on a spike of ice.
Yep. That's still doable, though.
It'd be way harder to pull off.
It is way harder to pull off, yes. But it's still a viable option. Yeah. The whole thing we started this RPG was we got tired of limitations. I think was the biggest thing. I want to be able to do this and this and this. And so we wanted to be able to open up a world and a way to do that that's fair, balanced, functional, but also lets you bring whatever shenanigans that come into your mind to fruition. Which I've played a little too much role playing games. I started in 3.5. I dabbled in AD&D. I did not like AD&D. I apologize to all you old schools out there. I maybe it was just trying to go raw into the books from learning 3.5 first and then trying to take that knowledge and go backwards. It's a very opposite system. I never had the chance to mess with GURPS, which is a whole different system. You only need D6s. But I've played other variants, and yeah, get to take that into everything that I saw out there had a very limited and structured progression that was really obnoxious. And if I and sometimes building characters, I love building characters. I do it all the time. I can't stop. There's just a plethora of them in my head. And we finally have a system where I can give them a home, where I can be like, oh, okay, I think you fit this class and this concept with this very well. So yeah, it's like, I guess, like going to a sandwich buffet is what we have built for people, because you get your bread, right? You got the system, and then you have every single class option laid out before you. Your meats, cheeses, all of it is right there, and you can mix and match to your heart's content. There's no Subway sub guy in the background being like, apologize, but yeah, being like, nah, man, you can't have that without paying extra. You can't do that unless don't need your shenanigans. Don't need you naysaying my creations. Oh, so yeah, that was I think one of the biggest drives for how we built the RPG and why we built the RPG, as well as, all right, look, we got stalled and we were bored. We needed something to do.
True. But we didn't. We wanted a game where there weren't the limitations.
Oh yeah.
So,
and I mean,
in fact,
yeah, go ahead.
so much so we have an ability that you can tap into that basically turns your, like, whether or not you succeed when you're doing something, right? Like you do an attack or, whatever you are doing, literally everything that you are doing, whether you succeed or is a coin toss.
Yep.
Like the character is, but it's epic. So like it's either an epic win or an epic loss, and there's no in between. So
right.
It's like every time you try, you're like, bling.
And I know we got off to a late start. We're gonna have to call it kind of earlier than normal today, just because time is running short. Because yeah, we had a microphone kind of explode, but not really. Obviously, they're both fine. We're both fine. I got all my hands, fingers. Can't see my toes really well, but they're there.
I think we figured it out that we have a cord that connects the microphones into one port to go into the computer, and I think we just need a new one.
Yeah.
So
we'll have to get a new one of those. We'll get this all set up again so we don't have that kind of complication. I just wanted to check in and say, hey, how's it going, everybody? Thanks for all your support so far. Wanted to talk about the RPG.
So before we sign off,
yeah,
do we want to talk a little bit about decks without giving too much away?
I think it's still needing to be built, but we have played with the idea, and I continue to play with the idea to do what we do, which is change everyone's thought process on how things should be played. So, I would say we've done it again, Bob.
Done it again, Bob. So with the board game, like it's non-linear, right? It's not like I take my turn for 10 minutes and then you take your turn for 10 minutes. Ian takes his turn, so on and so forth, right? And with 9 people, it takes 90 minutes to do a round. We have successfully gotten rid of that.
Yep.
And I'm so excited to announce that to the world. It's like the one thing that's like, I just want to tell everybody. So as soon as the Kickstarter campaign ends, the rules will be out there. We'll be able to talk about it. Kickstarter's March, April, and May. Those two, well, it'll be March, April,
and then should close.
All of March, all of April.
And then,
and then it'll close at like the beginning of May.
Yeah.
Will be the availability.
And we'll do a special announcement day. Like we'll do a special episode the day we go full live on.
It actually launches on Tuesday, March 4th at 11 o'clock our time.
Yep.
And so it'll launch, and then at 1 o'clock our time, we'll do that special that day. And so we will probably give away a hoodie to people who are watching. Right, yeah. We'll do like
we'll do some giveaways, T-shirts or hoodies or something along the lines.
Something
we'll get
like
more information as we get closer. We still got February to go through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
iron out some details, get some more lore drop out to you guys. And then,
sorry. So just to with the decks, we didn't want the role playing game to be linear either,
Nope.
the same way that you're used to. And so the problem was the way that to make the board game non-linear doesn't work in a role-playing game because
Nope.
you have a lore keeper. So you have one person who has to organize and be part of every single interaction that happens and is the checks and balances for the world and everything. So there's no way to do that the way that the board game does it, the way that the role-playing game does it. It's
It'll
0%
We're
possible.
launching
So
the Kickstarter at 11 a.m. Someone asked a question. I wanted to hit that real fast.
so 11 a.m. Mountain Standard
Yep.
Time.
11
So
a.m.
1 p.m. Pacific Time.
That's
So
when the Kickstarter goes live. And then 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, we'll go back to live for us to announce and
yes,
just be really happy and do some giveaways.
correct.
Yes.
So,
Okay, backing up. My bad.
no, yeah. So we had to change. So the way that the nonlinear play in the role playing game works and the nonlinear play in the board game works are different.
Yes.
But I think we solved it. So
We have been playing with so many systems and do our play testers of the role playing game. I'm so appreciative of your guys'
Right.
patience. I feel bad for focus points, but it's put one of our
Focus
classes
points.
in a really great position.
yeah, we've tested probably a dozen nonlinear ideas, and we've put 4 of them before other players. Like
Yep.
you and I have gone through at least a dozen different. Like, I wonder if this would work, and it's like immediately, like we sit down together, just the 2 of us, and we're like, nope.
Nope. This one doesn't work.
So
Done.
well, bummer.
Yep.
So,
But I think you're right. I think once we iron this one out a little more, we'll be able to. We have solved a system where we have created a system where you can have a gameplay that feels more like the way rounds are supposed to, because you understand in role playing games that rounds take 6 seconds. Everyone's acting almost simultaneously.
right.
Now we have that system that helps to facilitate how that feels and how that plays, and it's also, you have to pay attention. It has kept you way more engaged because unlike other ones where you're like looking at the board and then you go back to your phone, or you're like looking through your spell tables, or you're just dreaming about what you're going to do when you level up, can't do that.
Yeah.
Because it's entirely possible your turn will be worthless
Or take forever.
or take forever. And so we tried to streamline that process as well.
Yeah, I think my biggest pet peeve when we're playing board games is when 2 people are taking their turn and guy number 3 or girl number 3 is like, oh, it's my turn. That is my biggest pet peeve in games. So,
It's like, oh, what happened? What did I miss?
right.
I
if you had been
kind
paying
of-
attention.
I have to be very careful because of what, like, when I have experienced players, you'll get your punishment. You know what happens if you mess up. And if you're newer, I have to be a little more lenient because it's, yeah.
Yeah, but there's
There's-
got to
there's a
be.
level
I
of-
think
yeah.
we figured out a system where, like, the punishment is innate to the system as
Yes.
opposed to the DM or the lore keeper in our scenario. We're
Yes.
calling that person the lore keeper in our situation to be like, hey, because you weren't paying attention, you're being punished. Whereas
Right.
this game will be more
The punishment is self-evident.
right.
You missed it. You missed your ability. You didn't get the opportunity kind of deal.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's where we're at with the role-playing game. And we're excited to be, we're still, I think, I'm going to do a rough tentative, like, 2 years before we actually put it into books, because we still have to get artwork done. We have to finish fleshing out the worlds. Like, we have a whole other set of magic that we've talked about that we now have to introduce and put into play test. We
I
still
think
have to finalize Arcane and make sure that it
Yeah.
plays in comparison as well. Whew.
I think if our timeline becomes more like I don't need another source of income, like if that becomes the case, then yeah, we'll be able to push out the role playing game sooner. But I mean that all depends on how things go and
Yeah.
you know what the need is. And I mean I think there's some people that really like our game, but I guess we'll find out soon how many people want to play the game. So.
Because yeah, we've got a whole campaign like a whole concept coming out where we kind of talk about some of the different classes and doing some fun stuff with that. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And we're going to We are a little biased. That's fair.
It would be weird if I wasn't,
Right.
considering we created it.
I'm so excited to see this played by somebody else. I cannot wait for the day that someone comes up to me, "Hey man, have you played this game called Savarion?" I'm gonna feign so much ignorance. Nah, bro, what's that? Tell me
What?
about it. Oh my gosh, dude, you live under a rock?
I think I heard about it somewhere. Maybe I saw it on that. No.
Yeah, these two old bald guys made it. Uh,
So,
yeah,
but we'll do these shorter. We've decided we're going to do these shorter form like this
once a month.
to kind of keep up. So our next one for sure will be, well, we might do one in February. We'll probably do one in February, and then we'll do on March 4th. We'll do that one for
We'll do
sure.
that one as well. We're kind of doing more of a. Honestly, I'd like to make it, if we get enough people, I'd like to do a Q&A where you can just rapid fire at us. So everything that you've learned so far and want more clarification on, I'd love to run a QA.
Yeah, for sure.
But we'll see what we get.
We'll see what we get.
Yeah. All right, guys.
So, yeah. So next Tuesday we'll be back.
We'll be talking about
We'll be talking
Thursday. Not next Tuesday. Thursday we'll be back.
Is today Tuesday?
Today is Tuesday.
Okay, on Thursday we'll be back.
Yeah. And we're talking about the halflings.
The halflings.
We're getting half pint.
Yes. All right.
And then, yeah, definitely, like, if you like what we do, please, absolutely share it. Share it out there. Throw it out to people. Do the whole like, comment, subscribe shenanigans. Help us get more outreach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we appreciate everybody that's here today. Thank you for being loyal and awesome. And apologize again for, this is the episode of Sorries. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that we made a mistake.
no more of those. We need to figure this out.
We're figuring this out.
We'll
We're
get
growing.
it. Like, I'm still new at all of this. Ian and I are still learning all this system stuff, so we're getting our bearings. But we will get it.
We will have it set.
So
We're excited. At some point in time, we'll do, when we get that big, we might actually show you guys the behind the scenes on what our studio setup looks like.
maybe we need to take pictures of it now so that we can be like, this is where we came from.
Exactly. That's what I'm most excited about. Oh,
all right,
guys. Thanks for popping in. Catch you
And
guys
we'll see
Thursday,
next time.
1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time to talk about the halflings. Not half pints. Halflings.